Hello, friends. Welcome to my podcast, Conversations Between Terry Lynn and New Authors. On this episode, I'm talking with Elfi Hacker, who writes novels for young adults. Welcome, Elfi.
Hi, Terry Lynn. I'm so happy to be here. This is really an honor. Thank you.
Please tell us about your writing and your first book.
Actually, I have to say that through most of my professional life, writing was important because it was really the primary means of communicating before the internet and before faxes and long distance phone calls. So I had been writing various things, most technical things, marketing materials, fundamentally nonfiction. And when I finally found myself with the time and a peaceful place, I sat down intending to write my story. And I found that I didn't know where to begin. So a local artist and friend of mine dragged me to a local writing circle here 3 years ago. And I joined them, not knowing what to expect. But my journey as a writer of fiction began. Anyway, with some focus, I found a doorway and I walked through it, and suddenly I found myself writing fantasy and sci-fi stories that just flowed easily and spontaneously, and actually resulted in my first novel, which was An Unlikely Story, a tale about two girls who met at a Swiss boarding school, became best friends, and shared some wild and crazy experiences. But that is not the story that I'm in the process of publishing now. I didn't pursue publication for that one. Instead, I was motivated to start writing my second novel, Godsmacked, and it's currently in the process of publication. It took me 2 years to complete, and that included a painfully thorough editing process. And I have to say, I mean, I don't aspire to be a literary genius at all. I'm just a storyteller. And anyway, based on some beta readers and feedback, they've told me Godsmacked is a great story. And unlike that, my readers had read before, so I'm really curious and a little bit anxious to see how it will be received once it's widely available.
Godsmacked is a good title for a book. It makes me wonder what it's about.
It follows traditions and stories that cultures all over the world have been raised with and influenced by, and the impact it has on our lives. This story in particular, it begins with it's a girl called Wata, and we follow her generationally from mid 1700s into the present time. She is the heir to the sacred bloodline of the Grand Sangoma, who are what many people today call shamans. Anyway, the Grand Sangoma was the most important and influential person to the tribe, which lived in West Africa on the Ivory Coast, because she could speak with the gods and she would know how to cure illness. She'd know how to find game if they were hungry. She knew when threats were coming. And as the slave industry, the slave business evolved, many of her people from West, we find people with different belief systems, and it makes us question what's true and what isn't ultimately.
When is Godsmacked going to be released?
I would say in about 8 weeks, if all goes as planned.
What inspired you to write books?
I think that people, young people, all people, people my age, aren't reading as much as they used to. And I think it's important to try and write stories for young people, for young adults in my case, that make it worthwhile. At this point, social media and internet streaming has become a primary source of entertainment or gaming, and really the ability to read is something I'm afraid that may be lost, and it's rather important because it's far more likely that internet connectivity could be lost through any number of things, and yet the written word will remain. As we know, it's been passed down to us great literature for centuries now.
That's a great reason to write books for youth adults.
Yeah.
What challenges have you faced as a new author, especially when it comes to publishing or marketing your book?
Well, finding a publisher or a way to publish is very challenging, and I think for any writer at all, the editing process is really very challenging. It's very different from writing. The writing is spontaneous. It's almost like channeling. It's like method acting, whereas you write, you are the character. And suddenly, you stand back and become a third party and have to be ultra critical. And I was fortunate to work with two very good editors, and that was grueling. It required a lot of patience and certainly any ego or a lot of ego investment, and just realizing that maybe 30% of what you've written just has to go, among other things. So, that was challenging and definitely worth it.
So true. Writing is pure joy, but publishing takes patience and a whole different kind of work.
That's very true. Patience. Patience is a key word on every level. Yeah, it's a process. And, somehow when you're in the process of creating it, you see it as finished and out there, and yet the mechanics of getting that done are are not fast at all.
What was your favorite book as a child, and do you think it influenced your writing style today?
Um, Okay, my favorite book as a child, and I'm gonna cite the one, when I was already reading because, I was read many things as a child. But my favorite book as a child was definitely Lost Horizon by James Hilton, because it was the first book I think that really impressed me. And what impressed me was that you can expect the unexpected, and anything at all is possible. And certainly in the world of writing, and perhaps in the world of reality, but it opened my eyes, and I found that uplifting. So any story with a twist where, things have the opportunity to change is has always impressed me and been a motivation, to me throughout my life, that nothing's set in stone. We have choices. Yeah.
Is there a scene or character in your book that's especially meaningful to you?
The most meaningful character in my book is the girl I began to talk about, Wata. Anyway, she's bloodline generational heir to this title and to this initiation, but it has been rejected by all of those of her heritage in the United States. And present day, we find ourselves with a biracial teenager who feels lost and out of place. In her world and in her mother's world in South Carolina, and ends up in West Africa connecting with her cousin, who she's never met. And suddenly she finds someone she relates to. Suddenly she finds a mission and purpose in her life. And I think, that's really important. It's life changing. And that moved me, because I know what it feels like to feel lost and not belonging anywhere. So, what this girl went through, and she went through a lot, and it was that was sort of a beautiful transition, and probably not as one would expect.
I bet it was fun writing about Wada.
I think she really represents the dilemma that many have today. Who am I? What am I here for? And do I relate to any of this stuff that I've been indoctrinated with? So yeah, yeah. And it was fun to find a way out of the trap.
What do you think makes a children's book truly memorable?
A great story, a great story that leaves an impression, either someone they want to follow or be, and God forbid, something that really instills fear in them. But I don't think that's a great story. I think a great story is something that opens their eyes and changes their lives.
I also enjoy stories that make me think.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be serious thinking. It can just offer the possibility of some incredible things that could happen. So it's not heavy, it's actually light and enlightening. So I think, yeah, you know. It's fantasy. Fantasy is away from your world, from the things that are dragging you down, seeing things through different eyes. Those are all things that I think a good story brings.
Do you have any advice for other aspiring authors who are just starting out, especially in children's literature?
Um, well, I think in any kind of literature, it's important if you want to finish what you're beginning, you need to create structure and really set aside a time and a space to write. I would say be very prepared and have quite a few pens on hand. It for the first time, I really experienced running out of ink. So you will need multiple pens and notebooks and discipline, self-discipline to take whatever time, whatever block of time you assign yourself, be it 20 minutes or just as long as you need to do it every day religiously. It took me 2 years to be able to sit down at a laptop and just begin to write. Many people who write, myself included, the physicality of holding the pen in your hand and putting it to paper are somehow meaningful. But I think once you find sort of that channel that puts you in your story mode, eventually, a laptop is a good tool. It saves a lot of time, and yet if you transcribe your written work and read it out loud, that's also extremely useful, also in the editing process. So, yeah, um, discipline and perseverance, and the rest is all your imagination.
I totally agree with you.
Thank you. Oh, yeah, and the other thing also to aspiring writers, I would recommend a separate notebook for notes because every so often something will come to you in the process of writing your story that's related but not relevant at the moment. And yet there's something important and unique about that concept. So it's important to keep those things somewhere because you'll find yourself looking for them and going, well, how did that go again? Yeah, so by all means, a separate notebook for special comments, notes, things that will be part of your story. It's helpful. Another thing, writers join a writer's circle. It's great if you can find one locally, so you can actually meet, but online writer circles are great, and you work with other people who are writing, and everyone reads a piece of their work and everyone else critiques it. I think that's really helpful. And it gives some structure, especially if you meet, regularly, online at least. So that's really helpful. If you check that out online, anyone trying to figure out how to begin, writer circles are useful. Hey,
Where can people find you online, follow your journey?
hey. My Facebook and Instagram it's under my name, Elfi Hacker. And anyway, anyone who's listening, I'd love to see you there.
Thank you, EFI, for your information. I will put the link to your social media handles in this episode's notes below.
Great, thank you.
You are welcome, EFI.
Okay, all right.
Thank you, EFI, for talking with me on my podcast, Conversations Between Terry Lynn and New Authors on the Rise.
Thank you so much. It's been such an honor and such a pleasure.
You are welcome, Elfie. Okay, my listeners, tune in next week when I talk with Kevin David and find out how he works with high school students. Until then, happy reading with your kiddos. Update: Elfie's book, God Smacked Now, is available on Amazon, and the ebook is free if you have Kindle Unlimited. I'll put the link to the book on Amazon and this episode's notes below.